We just ran a 2,000-person poll pitting Donald Trump against Ron DeSantis, and I think this might be our biggest poll of the year. Former President Donald Trump just announced his candidacy for president last night, though many in the MAGA movement seem to be hoping for more. There certainly are compelling reasons for his candidacy, not the least of which being that the likely Democrat candidate looks like it's going to be Joe Biden again at this point. Since the 2020 election, Trump has consistently beaten Biden in a hypothetical 2024 rematch every time we've asked, with a lead as high as 13 points in the fall of 2021 to a more moderate 6 points more recently. We have also frequently asked the rematch alongside a question about who voters backed in 2020. Now, two things of note. In almost all of those cases, Trump still doesn't get to a majority of voters, meaning a lot of people are answering not sure or some other candidate, and they could break against the former president. And although Trump does pick up some portion of the Biden 2020 vote, most of what Biden loses goes to not sures and some other candidates, meaning it is possible he wins those voters back. But what does that mean? Well, we'll have to see, because it isn't necessarily a foregone conclusion Trump will be the GOP candidate. We asked voters what they thought of both Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis' numbers are definitely better than Trump's, though it isn't fair to say that they're high. DeSantis gets just over a majority of voters saying he's at least somewhat favorable, but Trump is at 47%. Where he has the edge, however, is at the extremes. Ron DeSantis has a 10-point edge among very favorable and a 17-point edge among very unfavorable. Here are the ups and downs across all demographics, showing the difference between Trump and DeSantis' favorability numbers. Trump basically underperforms DeSantis in pretty much every single demographic. DeSantis does much better than Trump with older voters, men, believe it or not, high-income earners, and the most educated. And conversely, Trump is not that far behind with women and younger voters, and he actually has an edge with lower incomes and lower educated voters. Where it counts most, however, total favorability among Republicans, Trump is only off by 2 points. But here's another problem for Trump. He has higher unfavorability numbers across the board and is, as a result, a more polarizing figure than DeSantis, who admittedly hasn't suffered the same amount of media slings and arrows either. The standouts in these numbers to me are the 26 points higher, very unfavorable Trump has among Democrats and black voters, the 22 points higher among self-identified moderates, and the 19 points higher among women and Hispanic and other race voters. There's really no good number for Trump in any of these demographics. Truth be told, however, Trump's favorability numbers were never in the stratosphere, and he still got more votes than any Republican candidate ever, and even maintained a job approval for most of his term quite a bit higher than Biden's has been averaging most of his. What do voters think about a Trump or DeSantis candidacy, however? Only 37% of voters think Ron DeSantis should run in 2024, but Trump clocks in at only 32%. 38% of voters say no to Ron DeSantis, but 60%, however, say no to Trump. Part of the signal here is how unfamiliar Ron DeSantis is still to many voters. But that 60% no number for Trump means he has a lot of work to do to make a new case to voters why he should be president. A little more than a year ago, we asked voters if it was a good idea or a bad idea for Trump to run for president in 2024. Now keep in mind that was only 9 months after the Capitol riot, and Biden hadn't yet suffered a massive wave of bad economic news, though the humiliation of Afghanistan was fresh on voters' minds. At the time, 48% said his candidacy would be a good idea and 44% said a bad idea. So in the following 14 months, Trump's candidacy has clearly lost a ton of support, with 60% now saying no to a Trump campaign. But that doesn't mean this is now DeSantis' game, with only 37% wanting his candidacy. But let's look at party numbers. 53% of Republicans want a DeSantis run, and only 25% say no. But Trump is only a few points behind at 49%, though 39% say no to Trump. Likewise, among independents, Trump is only 4 points behind, but 22 points more independents are against the Trump run. Now, we didn't force our respondents to pick between DeSantis or Trump, though it is something we did back in February. And Trump won 47% to 20% among Republicans and 31% to 17% among independents. That was the same poll that found that Pence only got 5% of the Republican support. In April, we asked voters who would likely win the 2024 Republican candidacy, and 2-1 voters said Trump over DeSantis. So has the Republican Party moved on from Trump? How big is his uphill battle? First, I'd say that on both sides, voters seem to be clamoring for a new candidate to replace both Trump and Biden, as the baggage continues to pile up. But given the successes DeSantis has had in his state over the last few years, you think DeSantis would be doing better with these questions if he were really the one. Keep in mind, only 53% of Republicans say they want him to run. So who is that other mysterious person? None of the other former Republican candidates, that's for sure, because Trump and DeSantis trounce them in every matchup I've seen. Trump has had an unmistakable impact on the Republican Party and has created shoes that would be really tough for anyone else to fill. We asked if voters agreed or disagreed with this statement: the Republican Party is the party of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. 72% of voters at least somewhat agree, and 39% strongly agree. Only 10% strongly disagreed. Here it is by party, however. 78% of Republicans agree, and only 19% disagree. Likewise, 69% of independents agree, and only 23% disagree. So no matter what the favorability numbers Trump gets now, which are likely at least somewhat temporarily depressed because of the midterm outcomes, the inescapable fact is that voters see the Republican Party as his party. Did you find this video informative? If so, please subscribe on YouTube or Rumble and follow us on Twitter for breaking notifications of all our latest polls. Thank you.